Welcome back, everyone, to episode 9 of the Throwing Shade podcast. We've got a very special edition for you today. A little bit of a different setup, as you can see, Bally. We're not in our usual spot. We're not sitting down around a desk like we normally do, and that's for very good reason. That's because we are going to bring you a special guest interview that we held in these very studios about 3 to 4 weeks ago. But before I introduce you to who our guest is on the Throwing Shade pod today, Bally, great to have you back. It's been a huge week in combat sports. Last week, we did the deep dive and the preview into UFC 328. What a fight card we saw, Bally. Give me your highlights in a few short minutes.
Wow, Strickland, he's done it again. The underdog of all underdogs. No one thought he could do it. I think he was at like almost $4.50 or something.
5.10, mate. Go back to the pod. I said he's good value at 5.10. I didn't back him, though. I should have.
And there again, guys and ladies, this man, he's picked another underdog. He had Gaethje when it was obviously an outsider against Paddy, and now he's picked Strickland against Chimaev.
Also, Charles Oliveira against Max Holloway, I will say. I did tip Charles.
So it pays to listen to the man. But yeah, what an amazing main event. Strickland did what we all thought he would do. He'd box and, put the pressure on, and, he was really good at the takedown defense. And I feel like Chimaev, he was just a little bit off. Maybe it was the 21 kilos he had to cut. But I just thought, from after that first round that he survived, it just looked like he gassed out, and then you could see that he didn't want to take Strickland down. He tried to do the stand-up game, and you don't beat Strickland at the stand-up games.
That was fantastic. It was a great card. Josh Fan, another one that we'll just quickly touch on. Forever the underdog. I also said that last week. When will people start giving this guy the respect he deserves? He is here to stay. Him v Pantoja is what we want next. What a fight that's going to be. But Bally, it doesn't stop in combat sports. We've got a new promotion coming into the MMA world this weekend. We've got MVP. We've got Netflix involved. We've got some huge names. How do you think they're going to fare this weekend?
Yeah, incredible event coming up. I love what MVP is doing. They're trying to challenge the UFC. They're putting a little bit of competitive tension into the market, which it needs. But what I've heard, they're not selling many tickets, and it's not going to be as big of an event that they all thought it was going to be. So, the jury's still out, but I love the fact that Dana's also put a fight night on the exact same night and the exact same time. So cop that, Jake Paul. But yeah, obviously we're all excited to see Ronda Rousey. Like, she was the GOAT of the women's division. We've got Nate Diaz versus Mike Perry, which is going to be just an absolute blood fest, hopefully.
There'll be blood everywhere.
And then you got my big boy, Francis Ngannou. I think he is going to have a first-round stoppage. He is an absolute monster of a man. So very excited to watch at Tucker's, but we'll have to see how it all unfolds.
Well, as we touched on, again, a very different edition of our show. Now, about 3-4 weeks ago, we had the privilege of sitting down with an active Australian UFC fighter. We had Jack Jenkins come in and join us in studio for a chat about all things UFC, but in particular, he came in to preview his fight for Perth, which he was scheduled to fight in. Now, he was going to be on the main card. He was scheduled to take on Marwan Rahiki. Fight hadn't officially been announced, but he did confirm that fight was locked in. Just our luck, Bally, on the show. Came in, sat down with the boys, gave one of the all-time interviews, and the next day gets injured. He's never had to pull out of a fight before, as far as I'm aware, Pharjack, but he had a pretty gruesome injury. And out of respect to the man, we didn't drop the episode at the time, because a lot of it was obviously centered around that fight with Marwan. But we've since spoken to him. He's happy for us to press forward, because the best of the rest of that interview, it was too good not to put up. So many good agenda items that we touched on with Jack. So we are going to bring you the rest of the interview now. Privileged to have been joined by Jack. Great fighter, but even better bloke. Really intelligent guy, really switched on. You'll see that within this chat that we've had with him. He's really got his shit together, Jack, and he's going to have a big future, whatever he does, whether that's in combat sports, racing, media, whether he wants to get involved in footy in some aspect. We learned a lot about. He's got a bit of footy now, Spally. Great dude. Jack, we know you're going to have a big year, whatever you do in 2026 and beyond. We're forever fans. Everyone watching, enjoy the chat with Jack Jenkins. Very special edition of the podcast today. I think today we are very privileged and very excited to announce that we have got an active UFC fighter joining us today in the studio. No more remote calls that Bally can stuff up for us. We've got a fighter in the studio and we couldn't be more excited. Firstly, welcome to my co-host Aaron. I'm Ben. Once again, thank you all for everyone for following along and subscribing. Very privileged to welcome along Jack Jenkins, current active UFC featherweight. hailing from Bacchus Marsh right here in Victoria, coming on a 14-4-0 record at the moment, 32 years young. Jack, welcome very much to the podcast, and thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing today?
Good to be here. First in-studio active fighter, so hopefully you get many more after this.
Your nicknames, man. I just need to ask the question. We've got Pharjack is one, but obviously if you go to your Instagram handle, Jack, and I know you've told this story a few times, but for our audience who might not have heard it, can you tell us where the one trick pony comes from? And seems like you're embracing that nickname now.
Yeah, for sure. So the Pharjack one is, that's my favourite. My first coach was a guy named Heath Addard, and he was he's an old army veteran, served overseas, and just one of the most genuine, lovely human beings you'll ever meet. He did so much for me as a kid, sort of from a teenager through to my early 20s, sort of not so much shaping me as a fighter, which he did do, but just shaping me as a person. And he took me down to do rounds one day at a gym in Melbourne, because we were from out sort of Melton, Bacchus Marsh way, and it was sort of rounds and rounds and rounds, and sort of got to the end of the day and everyone was done, and I sort of put my hand up. I'm like, is anyone still going? And he said, oh, mate, you're like Pharlap. You just don't stop. And I said, oh, I'm not Pharlap, I'm Pharjack. And then I went home, and because I love horse racing, I was like, I'm going to stick with that. So I changed my Instagram name to Pharjack, and then now, like, I would say 50% of my interactions with people, like, just get Phar or Pharjack. So I love that. And then the one trick pony. My fight to get into the Contender Series was a guy who was just a very wild striker who was unpredictable. And anytime somebody is unpredictable in their striking, you've got to try and avoid that. So I used the same takedown or the same trip on him probably 5 or 6 times. And I got the finish in the fight because I managed to open him up. But Dana said, when you sit there after you have your Contender Series fight, and it's such a hard, to this day, the Contender Series fight is the hardest thing I've had to go through. And I think that's why guys who come through Contender Series and win are having such a good record in the UFC, because it really separates the guys who just do well on the local scene from the guys who can do well at the world level. Because they bring you into Vegas and you're fighting a guy who, I was number 1 in Australia, New Zealand. This guy's number 1 in South America, and the guy's good. He's cleared out his region of the world. You come in, there's no crowd, there's no nothing, you're in the apex, you don't get walkout music, you're not allowed to wear UFC branded anything, you're not allowed to use the Performance Institute. I sort of say it's like army basic training, where it's like you're a maggot, like you're not anything yet, you've got to earn your stripes. And it very much feels like that for the whole week. You get like a skeleton crew of people helping you, compared to when you're actually in the big show, it's like you get everything, you get weighted on hand and foot essentially. And then after all that, you have to go out there and fight this guy. And it's the only fight in your career, essentially, where winning isn't enough. So, for example, this Marwan fight, I'd love to go out there and get a bonus and knock him out. And I'm sure he'd like to do the same with me. But we'll both leave there happy if we get a win. Right? And that's the case with almost every fight you'll ever have. Contender Series is the only time that's not the case. Like, if you go out there and win, but you don't show a style that the UFC wants and a tenacity to finish fights and put yourself in danger to do that, they just won't take you. So it's just this huge build-up. And then I got the finish in the 3rd round, which is what got me over the line. But Dana White kind of said, Jack looked like a one-trick pony, but I've heard he's a really good kickboxer, so we're going to take him anyway. So then I just sort of said, I'm a one-trick pony, how about watch this? And then I've sort of gone from there.
I saw that with Dana, and I thought it was a bit unfair. It's like you're dominating the fight. Like, if you're dominating the fight, does it matter if it's, the same way? Like, you got the win, and then obviously it was good that, he said you've got things to rest on, and let's see what you got. And then you're just like, let's go, I'll show you. But I was just like, it's just classic Dana, isn't it? He's just a bit of a like taskmaster, and wants everyone to kind of just bring it.
Yeah, for sure. And especially in that environment on Contender Series, because it's like, you're not here yet. You're not in the UFC. This is your chance. Show me something that makes me want you. It's an intense experience. So it's like, I remember my sister called me the night before the fight, and she kind of just made a throwaway comment. She goes, isn't it funny that tomorrow your life's going to be completely different in one way or another? And I went, oh, geez, that makes me feel good about this whole thing going down. Like, I needed to hear that. And it's absolutely true. Like, you're, hang on, guys, this will be good content. This is my drug tester calling.
Oh, no way.
Hey, Adam. No, I've missed him. If I don't call him back, I'm in trouble.
Oh,
here.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Jack.
Hey, mate, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Oh, that's good. I was just at Braybrook. I thought I'd try here.
I am doing a podcast in South Yarra if you're heading this way.
Oh, okay.
I could meet you at my house in about an hour and 15.
15, okay.
Or you can come here.
Oh, that'd be interesting. Whatever's best for you, man. I don't want to interrupt.
How far away are you from South Yarra? Because it just depends on your timing.
I'm just leaving Braybrook, so it's like 45, 50 minutes to your place.
Yeah, probably best to go there, I think, because if you come here, you might not get a park and it'll be a nightmare.
Yeah, no. I'll swing by and grab a bite, and I will see you about, 2:30?
Yep.
2:30. Oh, yeah, I'll be floating around your place about then.
Perfect. All right, see you then.
Enjoy your podcast, eh?
Thanks, mate. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
How good's that? The nice little exclusive for the Throw and Shade pod. We've got
yeah.
Jack's drug tester for making sure he's all above board for the fights.
Well, if I don't get back to him, I have to update my whereabouts wherever I am. And if I'm leaving, like, so my schedule at the moment will say that I'm at home.
Yep.
And if I'm going more than an hour away, I have to update my whereabouts. But I didn't do it because I'm like 15 minutes from home.
Wow.
So he can come here if he needs to get me. But we'll make it within the. Once he makes contact with me, we've got an hour to get together, and if I don't, then I get a whereabouts failure.
Oh, wow.
So you only get a couple of those before you get scrubbed out.
Wow. And does that ramp up in the lead up to a fight? Like,
No, it's completely random. It's completely random. But it's been like I've been in the UFC for nearly 4 years. I've probably been tested 40 times.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a very stringent like testing protocol.
And how do you know? They assign you a particular tester to make sure that he's across you, or is it like a team of people that you could hear from?
There's a team of them. That guy who I just spoke to is he does a lot of them. Like, he probably does 60% of my tests or 70%. Right. But they have a team, and it's all very regimented, and how they do it is quite impressive.
Wow, amazing. That's really interesting.
What was I saying before that, though? Oh, yeah, the Contender Series.
Yeah.
And it's a brutal environment, and you have so many people who get right there and then they never make it. And it's sort of, you come to that crossroads, and I was, probably a good combination of luck meeting opportunity and preparation.
Well, just while we're on that, I'm just interested. Just a thought came into my head talking about the Contender Series, and if you lose, so like George Mangos, right? Like, he had a loss on the Contender Series, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. What do you do in that scenario if you worked your whole life, you've dominated the regional scene, you're a hot prospect, you get there, you don't win. What's the next step? Like, what would you have done?
So George and I are just such different kettles in terms of asking that question. So me, when I went in, I had done the whole regional scene, and I'd kind of built up, and I'd had losses, and I'd come back from those losses. George is like 21, 22, and he still has, he's probably got 7 years of development left before he's at his peak. So George, it's a very small step on a very, long road, which I'm sure he'll make it. Like, he's an incredible talent. Yeah, for me, it was probably a little bit different because I was already 27. So that was I don't think I would have given it up. Like, if I didn't get the call, I probably would have come back and gone, I won the fight still. I'll look for a call up on the local card or something. And I'm sure I would have got that eventually because there wasn't really anyone left in Australia that had much for me. But George, he's just it's almost for him like just a good trial run. Like, if he was 30, very different, right? Very different. You probably never get another shot. But he's 21, 22. It's like he went in early and took a shot, but he's got all the time in the world.
Yeah. And then there's road to the UFC as well, right? Which is a bit different.
What he's on now, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's gone road to UFC now. Yeah. They started road to UFC because they they're trying to get into the Eastern market, but the Eastern fighters kept going to Contender Series and losing. So they started UFC, road to UFC, to try and build that market and give those guys an opportunity to get in.
Yeah. Right. I thought, I know you're saying Marwan, it's a bit of a weird matchup, but like we've been part of the Hex and we've been following kind of him coming through Hex.
Yeah, he had a couple of fights
and we saw him, we were ringside and we were just like, this guy's so impressive. And I didn't know if he was quite UFC caliber. And then when it got announced, we were obviously super psyched because obviously we were like, we've seen this guy from the ground up. Yeah. But like you said, I think you're just class above. So
yeah, I think so. I absolutely think so. I think I've got all the tools to beat him. And you can't take anything away from him. He's beaten everyone they put in front of him. Yeah. Right. And I like the fact that he brings an element of danger, like an element of, ferociousness that keeps you on your toes. And I think I rise to the occasion with fighters like that and people who are dangerous in that respect. So I think it on paper it's a great fight. Like if you look at the style matchup, it's an absolute banger of a fight.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Right. I agree. I guess the other thing I want to touch on, like where you're at now at your fighting camp. Also, I'd love to know a little bit about like weight cutting. Like we've spoken to Alva Sinasek about it. He gave us a bit of a insight on what it was like back then. How are you going with your camp? Where you at? And do you have any little tips and tricks you could share with kind of our listeners on what you do to prepare for a fight and for weight cutting?
Yeah, well, look, the number one question I get asked usually by people, if they're like 30-year-old and above males, the first question people ask me is they're like, oh, what do you do for recovery? What's your recovery like? Yeah. And it's like, mate, you don't train hard enough to need to worry about your recovery. Like we're talking like 1 or 2% difference over a course of years. But everyone wants the secret recipe of like, all right, are you doing ice baths, hyperbaric chambers? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? And it's all so superfluous. It's like your diet has to be clean, your sleep has to be good, and you have to follow your routine. And my big thing is we don't ever make up sessions. So if I miss a session for a reason, that's a missed session. That's a cross in the book. And there's no opportunity. There is no tomorrow. There's no, I missed Wednesday because I was tired, so I'll do something extra on Thursday. Like I'm really strict on that. And you write out your schedule and like there's going to be times where I have a niggle, where I have, like with the sport we do, you're just never going to be 100%. Yeah. So my thing is just being like to my schedule to like almost like anal degree where I won't add or take away any session, and I'll bust my ass. A good example this week is I had a really hard session that I needed to do, but it left me a bit flat for my afternoon session. So the afternoon session, instead of doing 5 rounds after we finished technique, I did 3. Right. And it's like that. I still did my session. I still did the work I needed to do, but I didn't put myself at risk of doing the 5 rounds and then losing the next day's session because I'm cooked. Yeah. So that's really big. And as far as weight cutting goes, it's the worst, most awful part of the sport. It needs to stop. Like I think when I retire, a big thing what I'm going to do is be campaigning first in Australia to the commissions that we need to stop allowing it to happen. And then hopefully if a company like the UFC can't come to Australia anymore because the jurisdictions won't allow them to operate the weight cutting like they do, then that's maybe going to be an incentive for them to change what they do. But at the moment, like to give the listeners an idea, for featherweight, and all the stats will back me on this, for featherweight, every single featherweight is going to get to fight week somewhere between 72 and 75 kilos, right? And 72 on the lower end, 75 on the heavier end. Yeah. We all eat no carbs and no salt, and then on the final day, we all shred the last 2-3 kilos off whatever we have to do to make weight. Then we stand there on the scale and weigh in on the verge of emaciation, and then we both fuel back up and we'll both walk in the cage somewhere between 72 and 75. There'll be some extreme cases on either end where there'll be lighter guys and heavier guys, but it's just an absolute waste of everyone's time. It creates poorer fights, more chance for people to pull out of fights because of complications from weight cutting.
Yep.
The whole concept is stupid. And then you have people within the organisation who will give you the feedback of, well, you don't have to fight at that weight class. If you hate it, why don't you just move up? It's like, okay, well, put me as an example. If I go up one weight class, that's me and Islam Makhachev or Renato Moicano, right?
Yeah.
So then I go, and that, I would still have to cut a little bit of weight to get to that. It's 70 kilos that Islam Makhachev fought at, right? If I go, all right, I'm not going to cut any weight. I'm just going to go in there what I walk around at, which let's say let's call it a round number at 74.
Yeah.
I'm fighting at welterweight. I'm fighting Kamaru Usman, right? So it's to put it back on the fighters and say, well, it's your problem, is just a complete, sidestep of the issue. So I think it's easy. You what you do is you go wherever everyone's at. You add 10% to every weight category. So 66.6, which is my category, that goes up to 72.5, right? Around there.
Yep.
The 72.5 to 73. Then I make the decision for myself. Okay, do I want to lose a little bit of muscle and I can weigh in on the day at 73 or under and be fine? Or do I want to bulk up a little bit and then 70, which is lightweight, would move to 77? And do I just want to walk around comfortable at that 76, 77?
Yeah.
We both walk in on the day. They weigh us when we get to fight week. All right, you're only 1% or 2% outside of the window. You're fine.
Yeah.
Right? Then you weigh in on the day of the fight. You know by that week whether everyone's going to be on weight or not.
Yeah.
You take away all the stress, all the headache, all the pressure on people's bodies. The weight cut does more damage to the fighters that you see in the UFC than the fighting does.
Crazy.
So it's a joke, and I'm very strong on that. It needs to stop. But in saying that, if I want to take a personal stand on it right now and go, I'm not doing it, I essentially just have to retire, which I'm not willing to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's got to change.
I think we both share the exact same views on that. Like, it's just crazy. Like, you see guys, fainting at weigh-ins. You see guys that, cut the weight, and someone like Alex Potan, who you see him on fight night and he's put on 3-4 kilos. Like,
So that's like, sorry to pull you up, but no, he puts on a lot more than that.
Probably not.
So Poatan, when he fought at middleweight, he would weigh in at 84 kilos and he would get in the ring close to 100.
That's wild, isn't it?
So like, we're talking about like huge amounts of damage to your kidneys, to your body, and then on top of that, you got to go out there and fight a guy who's going to try and take your head up.
And they actually say, like, you hear on a lot of the shows, you hear on Aerial, they discuss it like Islam moves up, fights at welterweight, fights for the belt, takes on Jack. Islam's probably got the advantage because he hasn't shredded his body to the limit that he normally does. He's probably feeling better than Jack does on fight night, right?
Well, I think he was bigger than Jack on fight night.
Yeah.
So it's like, there you go. Like, it's just, your body can do these things. But like, he would have gone in, when he was a lightweight, he probably got to fight week around 80 kilos and he cut 10. Now he fights at welterweight, which is 77. He probably walked in at 84, 85, which is around what Jack walks around at. So he was just big enough that he could do it. So it's such an archaic system for a sport that's so advanced now and so highly regarded in the public. It's a real blight on our sport.
Crazy. And do you have any little tips or tricks or something that maybe people wouldn't know? I know Elvis told us they'd get a credit card and they'd wipe all the sweat off and just, to get every little inch. Is there anything you have done or you've seen?
Like all the normal stuff. Like, a lot of it is wives' tales. Like, a lot of like, people used to say you sit in an Epsom salt bath, and that makes no difference. Whether it's just literally getting your body hot, and that's why it's like, some people try and make it like it's this science thing, and it's, if you do it right, you're going to be okay and everything. And those people are often selling a program or something on how to do it. It's not safe, but if you do it with me, you'll be safe.
Yeah.
That's the brand they go for. And it's all rubbish, because you heat your body up. your body withdraws water from its reserves, puts it into your bloodstream brings it to your skin, and you sweat it out. Over that process, your blood gets thicker and thicker, your more viscous blood is going through all your organs, your organs are put under pressure. It's a horrible experience, and it's just a shit thing to do.
Well, obviously you've had some ups and downs 2025, and obviously we're coming now into 2026. How's everything going? How are you looking? We know you came back from that horrific injury in the ICU. Where you at? Like, are you on track? And what are your kind of plans for 2026?
Well, I'm not going to come in here and tell you I'm fucking not on track, am I? Like every fighter ever, you hear, yeah, it's the best camp I've ever had. I've never been fitter, and I'm not going to break the code there. I'm flying. I'm doing really well. I did say to my coach last week that at the end of sparring on Friday night, because Friday is our big sparring day, I've never had a better week of training. Like, wow. I've never taken the load of training. Like, if we went through my week last week, it'd cook you. Like,
us too. Yes, it would.
Yeah. I've never had a higher volume week of training with a higher intensity, and my body's never taken it so well and been able to bounce through from one session to the next. That's a lot in thanks to my diet, my sleep, but as well as my strength and conditioning coach, Matt Prince. He's like, he's always, I've been with him for 10 years, and his whole thing has been, I want you in the gym with me as minimal as we can so that you can do the stuff that actually makes you a better fighter. And, we've built such a good base that we can go in day to day and do little things that, all right, we got to switch this on a little bit. This is a bit lapsed. Let's do that. Or let's push today because you're feeling fresh. And we just sort of take it day by day.
Yeah, nice.
And in terms of the goal, I don't know if you have goals set for 2026. I think I heard you talking about that in previous years. It might have been just maximise as many fights as you can. Is it a little bit different this year? Is it quality of opponent? Is it really good performance next up? What's the goal?
It's just so out of your hands. Like, I've kind of more, as I matured a little bit, just started to take it as it comes, because getting matched. I honestly thought when I got to the UFC, because getting the fights on the local scene, it was hard, because it was like, he doesn't want to fight you, or he does want to fight you, but that fight doesn't make sense, or whatever. And then you get to the UFC and you think, oh, now everything will be okay. I'll get to fight whenever I want. And it's just not the case. It's like, no spots for you, no spots for you here, no spots for you there. All right, you got to wait for this, you got to wait for that. Yeah. And early on, I found myself just getting so frustrated with the whole process that now I've kind of just stepped back from it, and I just take what it is. Yep. And people say, oh yeah, I'm going to talk to the UFC. I'm going to do. No, you're not. No, you're not. The UFC is going to tell you what to do, and you're going to do it. Yeah. And that's how it's always been, and it's not going to change anytime soon.
Yeah. And then obviously, the ICU, would love to, I'm sure you've spoken about this in nauseum, but would love just for our listeners, you could give us a little bit of an insight, like how was that? Obviously the injury, can you talk us through a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so in my fight with Gabriel Santos, I dropped him with a head kick and, made a mistake, rushed into his guard and got caught in a triangle choke. And the angle of the choke was such that it wasn't cutting off circulation in both of my arteries. That's a triangle choke. If anyone listening doesn't know, basically their leg will block one artery and your own arm blocks the other artery off, and it shuts off your brain and puts you to sleep. I was in a position that only blocked off one of the arteries, so I wasn't actually at risk of going unconscious. It was just painful.
Gotcha.
On that, I was stuck in it for, I don't know, it felt like fucking 20 minutes, but it was probably more like 20 seconds. Yeah. And I eventually escaped, but sometime in that escape, my thyroid cartilage cracked. Then I ended up on the bottom for a little bit, and I got up and I went to the stool, and even my friends who have watched me fight since I was in the local scene, they were in the crowd in like the stands up the back, and they said when you sat down on the stool, we could tell something was wrong.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they said, like, your eyes, you just didn't look like yourself. And it was because of when I sat down, I started losing feeling, like, from everywhere on the left side of my body. My left arm, I couldn't feel it. My left side of my face, I was starting to lose feeling. Yeah. And you kind of, as a fighter, as you go through your career, you get used to dealing with stuff like that. So you have a bit of pain here, or this isn't working, I can't use my right hand anymore. Kind of, your thing is just to pivot off the plan and do what you can. Second round, I go out and I was actually moving okay, but you see me if you watch the footage back, I keep doing this. I keep shaking my arm because I just can't feel anything. Anyway, I went back. I think it was 1-1 on the scorecards going into the third, and I expected the feeling to come back, and it hadn't. And then Gabriel just got it over the top of me. I just wasn't mentally in the fight anymore, and he beat me. And then when I went out the back, I told the ambulance guy, I said, I think something's wrong with me. I said, I feel like my head is going to fall off. Like I just felt like that numbness and stuff. I had no strength, and I could sit here like this and hold it up based on, just your body knows what it's doing, but I just felt awful.
Because you stayed in, sorry to interrupt, you stayed in the ring, didn't you? And you did the presentation.
You didn't
get sort of escorted out, like medical.
No,
you
nothing
stayed
like
in
that.
the ring,
Yeah, and then I went to the hospital and they checked me for a broken jaw, and they did what's called a dye CT scan, where they inject a heap of blue dye into you, and as that circulates, they get an idea of what's going on. And the doctor came out and said, you don't have a broken jaw, you're free to go. And I was like, sweet. And I went out, but my voice was really raspy, and he wouldn't have known that. Anyway, I was sitting upstairs, and my dinner had just come out, and I was with my niece, who's 7, my brother, my mum, my dad, my wife, and my coach comes upstairs where we were eating, and he was like white as a ghost, and he said, hey mate, come here. And I sort of was like, what's going on? And he said, they missed something on your scan. You've got to go back to the hospital. There's an ambulance waiting for us at the hotel.
Oh, shit.
And he goes, and they've said you can't speak or make any sudden movements. And I went, oh, sweet, great. But at this point, we had no idea what was going on. So I was like, have I had a fucking brain aneurysm? Like, I had no idea. So I'm sitting, getting transported to the hospital. My brother was with me, and we went to the hospital, and you've never seen a doctor look more relieved in his life when I got back there, because if anything happened to me, he was in big trouble, because he let me go without looking at the radiology report. He just looked at it himself and went, no broken jaw, you're good to go, which is what I got sent in with suspected. But then the radiologist has looked at it and gone, fuck it, get this guy back in here now. Then they go, prep him for the ICU, nil by mouth. I want him ready for emergency surgery if he needs it. And I still didn't know what was going on. I still hadn't been explained what's happened. I went to the ICU. You're not allowed to have visitors, so it was just me sitting there with people dying all around me.
Jesus.
Yeah, it wasn't pleasant. And then the ICU doctor was great. And as soon as he came in, I was fine. He said, has anyone told you what's going on? I said, no. He said, your thyroid cartilage is cracked. Your throat is swelling up. Basically, you have air pockets in your chest and in your neck, so that explained why I was going numb. It was putting pressure on the nerves. And he said, basically, if your throat swells up a couple more millimeters, it's going to create a one-way valve and you'll asphyxiate, and you won't be able to breathe. And he said, but the good news is you're in the best place on the planet for you, because we could do an emergency tracheotomy if that happens, and you'll be able to breathe, and then we'll deal with whatever we have to deal with after that.
Wow.
And he goes, but the good news is the way the scan looks, it's non-displaced, and I think, in my opinion, if it was going to swell up more, it would have already done that. So I think we're out of the worst of it, but you're going to have to stay here for 2 days. Jesus. So I was like, great. So I sat in the ICU by myself, wasn't allowed visitors for the first 24 hours, and you've just been beaten up, like you're sore. Like, and to be fair to Gabriel, like he beat me up a bit too. Like he landed some good stuff. So I'm sitting there, I'm sore, can't eat because in case they need to do surgery. It was just a miserable experience. And then I got out of hospital, and they sort of said, look, take 6 weeks off training, and then before you go back to training, go get a scope on your throat where they stick a camera up your nose and figure out whether it's all healed. And I went and did that, and they said, you're good to go. And then look, I would be lying if I didn't say it was a tough experience coming back. Like I was just carrying some fear of, like, it's the first time in you always, fighters and young fighters will listen to this and they won't relate to it at all, but when you're young, you have this abstract idea of death. Like it's like, yeah, people die, but not me. Or like, and I saw a video of a guy in Bahrain who got hit and died or whatever, but that's not me. That's not me. Yeah. That's not anyone I know, right? And it was a real eye-opener where it's like, well, no, it could be you. Like you are, like every fighter who gets in, it's it's on the cards for you.
Yeah.
You know, and that was a real eye-opening experience for me. And I actually said at one point I was finding it really hard just to get up to get to training in the morning, which was really hard for me because I'd never had that. Like, I'm always quite a disciplined trainer, and you know, I always enjoyed the training. And I sort of said to my wife that I just don't know if I want to do it anymore. Like, I'm not going to do it if I don't love it.
Yeah.
And she said, well, why don't you go through the process of training for a fight, get yourself booked, and if you get to the fight and you still feel this way, pull out the week of the fight, right? Like, you've got nothing to lose. You're going to retire then anyway, but at least then you gave yourself every chance, and you've come this far.
Yeah.
And then through the process of getting up every day and sort of carrying that fear with me, and you know, feeling it every time you go into the gym, I sort of got to the point where I was very comfortable with it. Like, it was, it became sort of part of the routine. Like, okay, you're going to get up, you'll be a little afraid, you go to the gym, you work your ass off, and then you feel better. And then you wake up the next morning and it got, I don't know whether the fear got less over that time or my ability to cope with the fear got better. I suppose they're the same thing in result. And then by the time I got to the fight, it was such a familiar feeling, because I'm always afraid fight week, but I've never been afraid during the fight camp. So I think it actually helped me level up, because I managed to deal with that fear for weeks on end, rather than just dealing with it when you get to fight week and it's right in front of you.
Yeah, well, and I was just going to say, like, to turn around so quickly after the psychology of what you must have gone through, and it's interesting to hear you say you spoke to your wife about potentially not doing this anymore. Had things gone down that pathway, I mean, were you in a position at that point in time or now that you would have been able to deal with that? Like, would you have been okay with that?
If I lost my last fight?
Well, if you were to give away the sport because you just didn't think you could get back in there, would you have been okay doing that?
I don't think, like, I probably would have had some regret later down the track, I'm sure, like, why didn't I give it another go? And I'm so happy that I did go again now, because, you know, I'm loving it again now. Like, I've, you know, fallen back in love with the sport. But at the time, you just don't know. Like, you're just trying to take it day by day.
And you hear mindfulness coaches talk about, you know, are you Jack Jenkins the fighter? Like, do you is that the mindset you have? Like, is that the main thing in your life, or like, do you look at yourself? You don't look at yourself as just a fighter. And that's what's the big thing in your life.
Nah, not at all. Like, I'm real big on this. Like, I've never been attached to my identity as like Jack's a fighter. Like, it just means nothing to me in the grand scheme of things. Like, it's a job, and it's a job I get to do, which I love. Which, like, that means a lot to me, that I get to, like, live a life that I want to live, and you know, I'm fit and I'm healthy most of the time when I'm not, you know, when I'm not in the hospital or whatever. But I'm fit, I'm healthy, I work my ass off, which is rewarding in itself, and I get to do something I love. But as far as like Jack the fighter, it wouldn't be in my top 10 most important things that I like in the way I look at myself. Like, far more important, like, am I a good husband? Like, am I a good son? Am I a good uncle? You know, I hope to be a good dad one day. And I think Volk is a great example of that. Like, I'm fairly close with Volk as mates, and you know, I'll never forget, like, one night we were out in Vegas when he beat Yair Rodriguez. I was lucky enough, I'd fought a couple of weeks before in America, so me and my dad actually stuck around, and we sort of traveled the US together, which was great. And I was sitting next to Volk, and it was like Shaquille O'Neal was in the booth with us, Jamal Murray, like, it was a pretty heavy booth. And then Volk's sitting there and he's just on FaceTime to his daughters, and it was like, in a moment where he's won a world title, and you know, every fighter would have loved to be him in that position. He just wanted to be home with his kids. Yeah, that's great. You know? And I think, you know, having people like that to sort of look up to, and I don't know if idolize is the word, but he's a great example of the things that are important.
Yeah, that's touching on that. I was going to ask next. Obviously, you've got to be around Volk and, you know, be there for when he's won. And, you know, have you got any like interesting stories or, you know, funny little things that have happened that you're prepared to or happy to share with the audience?
Yeah, like, it's just the general tomfoolery has happened. Like, we've had a few nights out, which are pretty fun.
He does love a beer as well, doesn't he?
He loves a beer with
him, haven't you?
There's just nothing. Like, it's pretty straight cut stuff. Like, I don't know. One of my favourite stories that it's got nothing to do with Volk, but I obviously love the horse races. And I was at Flemington on Derby Day, just after I'd got in through Contender Series. So I hadn't even had a UFC fight yet. And this guy, his name's Bobby Kearns now. And he comes up to me on the rooftop and he's like, mate, can we get a photo? Like, I watched you on Contender Series. I'm like, fucking oath, mate. Like, let's get a photo. And then we ended up having a beer or whatever. And then I left Derby Day and I was on the train and him and his mates were on the train. And he was like, oh, man, we'd love to come to your fight. And I'm like, mate, get my number. I'll organise tickets. I'll get you the ticket link, like the family and friends ticket link. And he got the ticket link, flew over with his mates, came to like hang out with us afterwards, and now he's like one of my best mates. Like cool. We hang out all the time. We're always like I was messaging him this week. Like that's one of my favorite stories. Just like such a cool experience to be able to do something like that and then make friends that you're going to carry on no matter what happens after fighting.
100%. And how do you see the featherweight division at the moment? Obviously, we're going to talk about, where you think you should go when you win, because we're expecting you to win, Jack. But what do you make of the featherweight division at the moment? What do you think Volk should do? Like, do you think Movsar is the next fight for him, or will Gene Silver get in there? And I guess, what do you make of the division at the moment?
Well, it's got to be Movsar. Like, if it's not Movsar, there's no credibility left. And I know there's very little as it is, but there's no credibility left if it's Movsar. And I prefer Movsar to Jean Silva. I think Volk beats them both.
Yeah.
But if Volk, because here's the question. Every fighter gets to a point where you slow down and you drop off a cliff when you slow down. And you see it time and time again. It's not like a footy player, like you take a Pendles. There's 17 other guys on the field and he can still use his brain and he might be a little slower, but he can catch up in other areas because he's so smart and there's other guys in the team who can do some of the legwork that he doesn't have to do. With fighting, that just doesn't work like that. Like 2% slower at that elite level and you just can't compete with anyone.
Wow.
So Volk, he showed in his last one that he's still right there. My thing is, you don't know when that drop-off's going to come. So if he gets Movsar next, Movsar's going to get on top of him and hold him down. And if he can't get up, then, all right, sail off into the sunset, Volk. You did everything. You're the man. And time got you eventually. But he's not going to take damage. If you fight Jean Silva and that time comes, and then, you're a chance to get your head taken off. So I'd prefer it to be Movsar. But honestly, the way Volk's going, it could be Movsar then John, and he could beat both of them and retire on his own terms.
Yeah.
But it's you just don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, I actually got suckered in, like you're saying. I was just thinking when he was fighting Diego. I was just thinking, is he just a little bit, is the father time caught up to him? Is this hungry kid who wants the title going to just be too quick and maybe he's going to be a bit off? And he just proved me completely wrong and just dominated.
Yeah.
And I feel the same coming into Movsar, because I feel like that's his biggest strength, is to try and take people down, sit on them, and it's like, is that going to be too much for Volk? Or is the way we saw him last time, I feel like he's too strong, he's just going to pop back up and his stand-up game is going to be too good.
And it's his fight IQ as well, right? Like, he's just 100%. So smart.
There is no one in the division who gets close to a Volk at his peak.
Yeah.
Right? The only question is, when does his peak drain? And it happens to everyone.
Yeah.
There's no amount of training he can do. There's no amount of fight IQ that can save you from that falling off that cliff. And it's just going to be whether that time comes sooner or later.
Yep. And Jack, just on the division itself and what would be next for you, or if you are at all thinking about the year ahead, you seem to love fighting in Perth. Like, we know that you've had some great experience.
They just put me there. I don't mind going there because I win there, but that's just what they, like I said earlier, they just tell you where you're going.
Well, I was going to ask, like, would you love to potentially next up, I know you're not going to be looking too far ahead, but would you love to get one of those fights in the States, potentially a ranked opponent? Well, what are you thinking might be next for you after this one without looking too far ahead?
Oh, look, you can look far enough ahead to sort of try and map out what's going on. And inside scoop, they're trying to plan a show in Melbourne, Q1 2027.
Wow, that's
so,
huge.
Look, I think a perfect year for me would go finish Marwan.
Yep.
If I beat him, I probably don't. If I beat him, but it's a decision, I probably don't warrant a ranked opponent. If I beat him and I finish him, I think I do. I go to 6-2 in the UFC plus Contender Series. Then I go then the 2 fights that I lost, I was beating both of them. So you can look at those form lines and go, look, he probably does deserve a ranked shot. It might not work out like that, but I think that's feasible. Go over to the US, get a ranked opponent, hopefully someone 10 to 15, hopefully closer to 10, beat them, get inside the top 10, and then come back Q1 2027 and headline the Melbourne card. I don't think there'd be anyone more fitting than me to headline that card. With putting modesty aside for a second, I think, my affinity with this city and the fact that I've never got to fight at home since I've been in the UFC would make me a prime candidate for that.
100%.
I think that would be unreal. Like, you love your footy, you love your horses. Who could be better?
Absolutely. MMA in Collingwood.
Yeah.
The V lines from Bacchus Marsh would be full. So they'd have to put on extra services.
Are there any other fights you're looking forward to? I mean, not sure if you'll get the chance to actually watch any other fights or where you'll be placed I'm sure you'll be on the main card, but any other fights you're looking forward to? Obviously, Jack and Carlos is a ripper.
Yeah.
What are the other fights you're looking forward to that night, and our listeners should tune in for?
Benil.
Yeah.
Quillian's a jet. He stole my whole fucking flow, word for word, bar for bar. He got the mullet, he got the mustache. Now he's doing gambling shit. He's like,
and then fur coat.
And then it's funny. People go up to Quillian. He's got like videos of it where he's standing there, and guys come up. They're like, "Far." Hey, Far. And he's like, I'm not Pharjack. And then he was telling me those stories, and I was like, oh, we don't even look that alike. And then I was sitting on a plane. I was coming home from Sydney. I went to Sydney, came back, and then went up again for the fights. And it was middle of fight week, and I was on a plane from Sydney to Melbourne, and these guys turn around in front of me. They go, mate, Quillian, aren't you fighting this weekend? What are you doing on a plane? And I was like, I'm not Quillian. And then they were like, you are Quillian, like you fight in the UFC. And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm not Quillian. And they're like, nah, you're lying to us. You just don't want us to know it's you. I'm like, mate, I'm not Quillian. I do fight in the UFC, but that's not me. And they're like, oh, and they had no idea. So Quillian and I sort of running the joke now that we just feed off each other. So I hope he does well. Benil's a tough fight, but that's good. I haven't really looked anywhere else, mate, to be honest. Like, I sort of lost the joy in watching fights once I got into the UFC. I used to love, like when I was a kid, I wouldn't miss a card. Like I would beg mum to drive me to the Max in Melton so I could sneak in with my brother's ID to watch the fights, because it was like a pub. That was the only place you could watch it back in the day. Yep. And I suppose like footy players, like once you get in there, it sort of changes. It becomes your job, and you sort of lose the joy of watching it. Yeah. And I hope I get that back when I retire. But I think it's not so much like I don't enjoy it. It's just that it's so consuming. It's my whole life. Like I think about fighting every hour of the day. So when I get a chance to not think about it, like I want to watch the footy, or I want to watch the horses, or do something else.
So will you tune in for, like, say this Sunday UFC 327? Like, would you tune in and watch, or
no? Because I'm not even allowed to bet. Like,
oh really?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
that sucks.
No, I won't watch.
Nah,
especially when I'm in fight camp, because like Sunday's my one day I can hang out with my wife, like chill out. Yep. So I don't even I don't even know who's fighting this weekend.
It probably stiff on the wife as well. The one time you get off,
and
exactly. She's like, "You're watching
fights." Yeah. And there's like lots of guys who are like. And I probably fell into the trap too when I was younger, and it's where it's like, I'm a fighter. I love fighting. Like my whole life's fighting. I'm obsessed. Connor probably had a bit to do with it, and I'm not knocking what he did, because he's obviously the best to ever do it, and he did it so well. But guys get trapped in that, like, I'm a fighter, so all I'm going to do is worry about fighting and stuff. And then all of a sudden you're 32 and you've like completely missed that part of your life. And I'm grateful that I didn't do that. Like I've sacrificed a lot. Like I've missed a lot of things. I've missed weddings. I've missed, birthdays. I've missed, I haven't been on a holiday for, however long. But, I did stop and smell the roses. I did like other things. I have other passions. I have other things that bring me joy, which I think if you just tie yourself to being a fighter, you're sort of tying yourself to a life of misery.
Well, exactly. Like, speaking about that, obviously, you've got all these other hobbies. Your massive passion for horse racing. I'm a bit of a horse nuffy too. Absolutely love it. Yep. Obviously, I work at a betting company, so I'm getting a lot of stuff off the trade floor and hearing stuff from jockeys. Have you got any cracking stories? Like, what's your best day on track? Have you got anything like that you can give us a bit of an insight?
Oh, my best day on track is easily my horse Epimels. Won the Anzac Day Stakes at Flemington. I'm an ambassador for Flemington, the VRC. So to win a stakes race there with a 2-year-old,
Epic.
and it was my dad and my brother are in it, but also probably half the owners in that horse, like since we bought it as a 2-year-old, and half of them were at my wedding, like
Cool.
So we've just formed such a good group around him, and he actually makes his return after 567 days off this Saturday. So that's probably that. When we won the Anzac Day Stakes, it's hard to explain to someone who's not interested in horse racing or who's never been there what it's like when your horse wins. Like, I'm more nervous when my horses run in good races than I get for fights.
Wow.
And my best betting story was I actually had like a bit of a battler horse called Fam Gorman. I own it with Geordie.
Yeah, I know Fam Gorman, yeah.
And he was paying a stupid price. He was paying like $15 for a place.
Wow.
And a stupid amount, like something ridiculous to win this race. And Clay Beasy, the trainer, he's just a legend. He just goes, "Man, Jack, I reckon this horse is going good. Like, I actually reckon it's going good." Like, he's not a city class horse and he's running at Flemington, but he's going good. Yeah. And I went, all right. So I just had like every day it was just like a multi into fam, a multi into fam, a multi into fam. And when it got to Saturday, I had him going for about 150 to win.
Wow.
And I had him going for 25 to run a place. And he kicked clear, three lengths clear at the top of the straight, got ran down, stuck on for third and ran a place. So we were all, it was the only time you'll ever see you can stand on the outside of the winner's bar at Flemington because it's all glass.
Yeah.
And I was looking in at the winners in the bar, and the celebration is just me cheering him home for third. I'm like, it's
awesome.
It was brilliant. But yeah, I love horse racing, and you got your stories on the punt and that, but my passion goes a bit beyond that. Like, I want to probably train racehorses when I retire.
Oh, awesome.
When I'm not in fight camp, I'm working at Malua Racing 2 mornings a week. So I go in there and I'm learning sort of all the ins and outs of horse racing. And, I'm 32 and sort of just getting started in it now. So I got a big deficit to catch up on all the guys who have been doing it their whole life. And a lot of the guys are, generational trainers. And I don't even come from a horse racing family, so to speak. So, I love it. I'm actually Epimels, who's running this weekend, I'm strapping him. So
really?
That'll be exciting.
That's cool. Yeah, I saw on your socials you were giving a little tip for it this weekend, and I was like, I might have to just chuck that in a couple of multis if Jack's getting on it.
He's good value.
That's awesome. And then obviously old Tucker's over here. He's got deep pockets, and I've heard you might have Sir Jardin. You might be looking for someone for a couple of shares. You might sort out old mate here.
Depends what we're looking at.
He's reasonably priced. She's reasonably priced. She's a filly. Obviously, Sir Jardin, very good 2-year-old, undefeated pre-Christmas, and thrown a really good filly, and she's out of a nice dam, good mare. So we went out, we were at the sales for a few days, me and a few of the young boys, and she was our pick, and we couldn't get anyone to buy her, and we just weren't in a position to do it, and I didn't even know, and one of the boys messaged me and said Trent bought her, and I'm close with Trent, so I rang Trent. I said, give me that horse, and he said, yeah, done. So
that's awesome.
so
Trent Bussetton.
Trent Bussetton, So she's off at the breakers now, and all things going well, but I think we've only got about 10% left in her, so you got to jump in quick.
Okay.
It's a good crew. It's a heavy ownership crew. You got me, Volk, Zach Butters is in. There's a few others, so it's going to be a fun ride. Whether she's any good or not, like yearlings are always tough, right? But you live the dream if you've got a good one.
Because maybe throwing shade might have to invest.
Put in a little throwing shade syndicate. And then look, I'll throw you a bone. I'll get you some guests. There you go.
Well, I was just saying to Jack before, my Mrs. Old Man is in with Trent and that. He owns El Tercero with a few mates. So
nice.
maybe he'll back me and we can go in with him as well.
Get the old man involved.
Mate, get everyone involved.
Do it.
Let's take this into the moon.
You can have the whole 10%.
Okay.
There you go. You heard it first. I'm going to hold you to that.
It's available.
And then I just wanted to also touch, I saw a little bit of in the background that you're looking at maybe doing a doco series about like your big passion, getting younger people into horse racing. Tell us a little bit about that, and do you have any interest of maybe doing something similar but for like MMA and UFC, trying to blood that next wave of young kids to get into the sport?
I don't have the interest in it for the UFC because it's so saturated. Because the sport grew with social media, and it grew with so you watch these young guys coming through, they've all got like these wicked edited videos, and they're all documenting everything. Like you go to like a local fight show. Back in the day, like the only cameras I would see at a local fight show was literally the show filming it. Like at Hex, I used to fight on Hex, and there was like the cameras for the people filming, and that was it. Now you go to a local show and there's this amateur who's had 2 fights and he's got a film crew with him, like recording it. And I'm not knocking that. Like these guys, you've got to try and build a profile however you can. But it's just so saturated. Like I don't think I could tell a story in that would be something that people wouldn't have seen before.
Wow.
Horse racing is almost the complete opposite. It's archaic. Like there's the guys that people are just starting to catch on to it now. There's some stables doing really good stuff on the social media and filming a little bit more short form and longer form content to keep people more involved.
Yeah.
Traditionally, it's been such a guarded thing. You can't have the footage of the horse galloping if the trainer's going to have a bet, because it'll ruin the price, right? People are getting into this new space of that sort of thing, and I'm making a doco that will be on Channel 7 over the winter.
Cool.
I got right into it, and I nearly got 1 episode finished. Like I've filmed 2 episodes, but I nearly finished the editing for 1, and then I started Fight Camp, and I literally haven't touched the camera since. So Channel 7, I have to wait for a bit.
Very good, very good. Well, Jack, we'll let you go in a minute. I do just have a very couple quick more for you, if that's okay.
Yep.
Wearing the Happy Dad hat, mate. It's not without a story from your end, mate. And I know you've got some pretty cool stories about Happy Dad, but Nelk Boys are big inspirations of us. We absolutely love the journey and what they've been able to build with Full Send. You've got a pretty funny story about how you might have struck up a relationship with the Nelk Boys. Can you just give us a very quick overview of how that came to be? And really interested to hear about when they've come to Melbourne, and you've had a couple of good nights on the town with the Nelk Boys, and just keen to hear if you're still mates with them. How did that come about?
I don't speak to them so much anymore, but not for any reason other than like we just haven't crossed paths again. It's like a bit unnecessary. But it was like Happy Dad was just kicking off when I had my Contender Series fight, and one of my best mates, Chaz, was playing football at the University of Nevada in Las Vegas, and he came to my fight because you're only allowed to have 4 people there, and he was one of them. And I told him, I said, bring Happy Dad cans in your pocket and throw them to me when I win. And he was like, yeah, done. So I win, and I'm going out, and he went to throw them to me, and I know, wait until I get a contract. And then when you come back out to see your family, and he gave me these Happy Dads right before I went to things. So when I went out the back to do all my media, I had these Happy Dads, and I was like, if I can, you got to try and scheme sometimes, you got to try and set these things up. So when I was doing all my interviews, I was drinking Happy Dad, and I did an interview with the Full Send guys, and they linked me up with Salim and a couple of the others when they came out here, and we took them on the town one night and played some golf and stuff with them. And they're just dudes. They're just pretty normal dudes. They live it. I think being on their side of seeing what they do, it's a bit different to how it is portrayed on YouTube and that sort of thing. There's a lot more lows than get showed on that. Like the highs get showed, but not so much of the lows. But yeah, they're a big brand, and I don't think they're really doing much sponsorship of many fighters or anything anymore. I think they got, again, like we spoke about earlier, once you have your one guy, you don't need any more.
Exactly.
They got Sean O'Malley, so what else do they need?
Yeah. And so obviously you took them out, night on the town. Obviously we got Revs, we got Electric, we've got through the city. What was the setup for the lads?
We went to the Osborne.
Oh, nice.
We went to the Osborne, and it was just like one of the Collingwood boys was having a birthday. So we had like a big area with just like us and the Collingwood boys, and had a bit of a big night. And I brought all the boys from Bacchus Marsh, and we had a good night. Yeah, it honestly wouldn't be in my top 15 nights I've had though. Like, the best fun you have is when you're just with your mates at the pub. Like even I tell people, like when that night I was with Volk, I'm in Vegas and I'm in a booth, and you got Shaquille O'Neal there, Jamal Murray, Volk, me, Stylebender was there, Leon Edwards, like all these guys who I've looked up to since I was wanted to fight, and I remember looking around and thinking like, geez, I would rather be at the pub with my mates from Bacchus Marsh. Like it's like real, like not even just saying that as a as a gimmicky thing. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing funner than hanging out with your mates that you grew up with.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear. You mentioned Zach Butters before. Are you mates with him because he's from the area?
Yeah,
right?
he's a
From
Marsh
Darley?
boy. Yeah. Zach's mum, Renee, was my boss at Foodworks. I was a checkout chick. She was the manager. So yeah, Zach's a Darley boy. I'm a Marsh boy, like rival footy clubs.
Oh, really?
But we're sort of from that. He's a bit younger than me, Zach, but we're sort of from that first generation of people who have sort of like amalgamated. And yeah, he's a good fella. And Sammy Lawler, you're Richmond. Sammy Lawler's a Marsh boy too. I'm quite close with the Lawler family.
Cool.
So yeah, there's some good athletes coming out of the Marsh.
Zachy Butters, he'd go well in the UFC. He's got a bit of mongrel in him. I think he'd love it.
Got a bit of dog in him.
He's definitely got that dog in him.
But
That's for
Sammy
sure.
Lawler, that kid's a bull.
Oh, isn't he?
He's
He's a
just
footy player.
a tank.
He's nuts.
Yeah,
Like
he shows glimpses, and you're just like, this kid could be anything.
And he only started training footy at 17 or something like that. He's a cricketer, wasn't he? Wasn't he a young
he's
cricketer?
Big cricket family.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, he's going to be something.
He's got Dusty 2.0 written all over him, doesn't he?
Let's hope so.
Just
Let's
absolute
hope so.
beast. And just quickly, obviously, you've told us a little bit about your love for footy. Just for our audience, who do you go for? What do you think's going to happen in the AFL this year? And unfortunately, Tucker goes for Essendon, so I'll give him a lot of shit.
My brothers go for Essendon.
Yeah.
Just a punish.
Just terrible.
It's been tough.
Absolute rubble of a football club. Just bring back Hurd. It's your only option.
Agree.
Like, people laugh when they hear that, but like I'm in group chat with heaps of Essendon supporters, and that's genuinely the sentiment between a lot of long-term Essendon fans.
I just don't see a way that you can't bring him back. Like, he has to come back.
Yeah.
Like, imagine, I would almost make Essendon like, while Geordie's still playing, Collingwood will always be. I go for Sydney Swans.
Okay.
But Collingwood, my second team, love watching them. But I would nearly make Essendon like top priority watch if Hurd was back.
Yeah, it'd be box office.
Just the way that he got ousted from that club was just so bad.
Can you imagine the prodigal son just coming back after the drug saga? They're on their knees. He comes in and he gets you lift up a chip like a premiership cup. It would be the most wild shit ever.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah. Swannies, how are they going to go this year?
Mate, we were going to win the flag until Errol got injured. He's just like so important, but the boys are going good. Hopefully we can get a go. I don't know if I can go to another grand final that we lose by 60 or 70 points.
That's brutal.
I went to a couple of them. They were pretty rough.
Yeah, no, I'm a Collingwood man, so I've been through a bit of pain as well, seeing a few losing grand
it must
finals.
be really hard being a Collingwood fan at the moment.
They love giving me shit about it. So.
Jeez,
3-year drought.
Dacos father son. It's so tough.
Best player in the comp. Hasn't won a Brownlow though.
We've probably been kissed on the dick a little bit, but
Look, I think, Jack, you've been so generous with your time. We know it's a busy period for you, so thank you so much for coming in and joining us today. It's a real privilege, a real honour for us. We're going to be lifelong fans of yours now, mate. Whatever you do,
for sure.
Hope to stay in touch. We'll keep following your journey, mate, and we'll be watching. And we'll be watching whatever you do next, mate. So thank you for coming in.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it, boys.
Thanks, mate. Wow, thanks, Jack. What a great interview. What a great insight to see, not just about UFC, but also about the man behind it. He loves his horses, loves his footy and the Swannies. Really interesting guy, and we absolutely love the chat, Jack. For everyone out there, thanks so much for coming along the journey with us. We just come back from Perth. Thanks for watching all our content. Make sure you follow us at Throwing Shade Pod on all our social channels, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all at Throwing Shade. Even give us a listen on
Throwing
Spotify.
Shade Pod.
At Throwing Shade Pod. Give us a listen on when you get a chance. And we look forward to bringing you more interviews with great UFC fighters. And we'll see you in the next episode.
Not just UFC, we've got a few other guests lined up from other forms of combat sports as well. So plenty to come, bullies.
And thanks again, Jack, for sitting down with me and Tuckers.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers,
Thank you all.
guys.